Hello and welcome to South Bay Sports Radio. Here's your host, Nick Ingram.
Welcome into another episode of South Bay Sports Radio. Today we are talking South Bay Surf. We have the director of the South Bay Scholastic Surf Association. He's run that for the last 13 years. The vice president of the South Bay Boardriders Club, the owner of Spyder Surf, Mr. Richard O'Reilly. Sir, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Of course. We want to shout out our show's sponsor, Barber to You, located at 25690 Crenshaw Boulevard. Whether you're in the South Bay, Long Beach, San Pedro, you have to check out Eli Lopez. Styleseat.com, search Eli Lopez. Beard trims, haircuts, whatever you need for your next outing, your next surf event. If you're going to Australia, we are talking to you. All right, Mr. O'Reilly, you got to take a group of kids to Australia to compete in an international competition. I know I saw it at the Surf Awards recently, but how was that experience not only for you, but for these kids, these local high school surfers?
I got to believe it's something they'll never forget. I know it's something I won't ever forget. So, and I can't imagine, I mean, the whole time we're there, thinking about what it would have been like if we were their age doing it. So it was a special week for sure. And they did really well. And the kids were all great ambassadors and represented the South Bay so well. So yeah, very, very cool.
How tough was it to choose a group to go out there with the amount of great surfers that we have in this community?
It was difficult, no question. And especially, in order for us to qualify to be there, it takes a team of 28. And we only ended up taking 8 people to Australia because the format's a little different. So when we had to narrow that team from 28 down to 8, it was tough. But ultimately, we had to go with the guys that we thought gave us the best chance to win, and the guys that had kind of put in the most time to help us get there. So great group. And it wasn't just kids. You know, we had Max Hoshina there. He had to represent us in the over 40s, and then we had Tegan Meza that was the young end at 14 years old there as our girl. So we spanned the whole group there.
How much different were the conditions? I know in the South Bay, there's a lot of different spots that you can surf at, but how much different were the conditions when you go from Torrance Beach, Manhattan, El Porto to surfing in Australia?
Yeah, that wave, the contest is at Snapper Rocks on the Gold Coast, and that's a really good wave. And it's a pretty user-friendly wave, really. It can be a little tricky, and it was a little tricky when we were there because it was pouring rain and the wind was blowing 30, 40 miles an hour sideways. But everybody that we had competing for us is used to surfing good waves and point breaks. They've traveled all around the world, so they adapted quickly, and they, the kids, they were so frothed out on getting in the water. Even the couple days leading up to the contest when the waves weren't that good, they were out there for hours figuring it out. So yeah, they were ready to go. And there's something to be said for surfing crappy waves a lot like we have here in the South Bay, that it really make you appreciate when you get the good stuff, and you can make the best out of not such good stuff. So they did a great job.
When did your journey in surfing start? How old were you when you jumped into the water with a board under you?
Man, we're going all the way back. I think the first time I started surfing was 11 or 12. I think like most of the guys my age that grew up around here, and by grew up around here, my family actually moved here when I was 8 years old from the Midwest. So, but for some reason, my mom, I got to credit my mom, she had a surfboard that she was messing around with on Lake Michigan, and she was just fascinated with surfing culture. So when my dad got transferred out here for work, it just made perfect sense that she was throwing me into all the beach stuff, and I loved it right away. Standing up on that first wave, I was hooked instantly. But I was 11 or 12, and I was out there twice a day. And I started to say, like so many guys my age that grew up around here, and the rule back then was you had to do 3 years of junior lifeguards before you could go to the beach by yourself. And so through that junior lifeguard program that's still so good today, when they'd give us that free surf time, me and guys, a couple friends that are still friends of mine today, we were just everything before and after during free surf, that just surfing became our lives. It really did.
Let's fast forward a couple of years. With the South Bay Boardriders, they've been together for 17 years now, but how much has that organization not only grown, but also given back to the local community?
I am blown away by how strong that organization is, what great people are involved with it, and everything that it does. It's even tricky to go through all that they do on an annual basis, because there's just so much between. It's the 7 series contests that start in December, run all the way through May. That's the kind of the biggest thing. But then when that's done, and there's a paddleboard series that they host, and that's 4 or 5 paddleboard races. And then there's countless fundraising events throughout the year. Queen of the South Bay, the big women's program. Yeah, I would need to have it up in front of me to be able to tell you everything they do, because they are doing so much. And same thing there, it really starts with the youngest kids. We've got 5 and 6-year-old kids in those contests, but all the way up to 60-year-old dudes too. We'd love to see Mike Purpose is still out there in those contests. And yeah, it's amazing everything that the Boardriders Club does, and it only continues to get bigger and better. So.
Let's focus on the women's side for a second. Just inducted a woman into the Surfer Walk of Fame. But how big is the women's side grown over the last 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, I'll take that back to the high school surf league initially, because the women's teams there have grown and grown and grown every year. And this year, for the first year, we have a separate women's champion, where we crowned Redondo High as the first ever women's champion, because their team went undefeated this year at 7-0, beating all the other schools on the women's side. But we're definitely seeing the women's division in the Boardriders contest has only gotten bigger and better. The level of surfing is just going through the roof. Like we have such good girls, and so that when we see that, I mean, you see that all the way. We saw it in Australia. We see it on the world tour. The level of women surfing and the number of just phenomenal female surfers is crazy. It's so fun to watch and really so cool.
The surfing community is very welcoming, but again, we've got these competitions going on in the water. How do we differentiate from being competitive to being all welcoming and all inclusive?
It's a good question. I got to believe there's space for both, right? Competition's healthy, and it's only going to, I think, drive the sport to progress and get better and better. And I think it is friendlier now than it's ever been. I kind of do think back to my days when we dealt with the localism. While it still exists, it's nowhere near to the level that it was. And the girls in particular, a couple of different programs that they're running through the Boardriders Club are just all about getting more girls out there. And I see it when they compete. They're encouraging each other way more than they're ever being truly cutthroat or no one's out there for blood. They want to win, but I think they're so supportive of one another.
Let's touch on the South Bay Scholastic Surf Association for a second. When that first started, did you ever anticipate it getting to be this level?
I don't know that I did. And I was there in 92 and 93 when the whole thing was conceived and when it really did start. At that point, I was just a judge. I was going to college and just kind of helping out in between college stuff. And I knew, and the reason I did get involved is because at that time we didn't have a team for Maricosta, for my high school. We had a surf class, but we didn't compete. And so I thought it was so important that did develop and that there were surf teams that could compete against each other. So I wanted to make sure that we saw that come together, and we did. And at the time, I was like, well, there's kind of Redondo, Maricosta, West High School. There was a handful of us, but there wasn't the 12 schools that there are now. So I thought it had potential, but I guess you're right. I didn't know that it would end up being 12, maybe 13 or 14 schools next year, because we have other schools that are interested too. So yeah, I'm surprised, but I do think it still has more room for growth too.
So the South Bay Surf League, it used to stretch from San Pedro all the way to El Segundo, but now we've included teams like Santa Monica and Venice. How big has the league grown since its inception?
Well, like I said, I think we started with 3 schools back there in 92, 93. Now we have 12, maybe 13 or 14. Some of those schools have 50 or more kids per team per class. Some don't have that many, but I think if you do the average, it's 300-400 kids, I believe, pretty easily in the league. So
having that many kids in the league, I know that's got to be tough to, especially at 6 a.m. meets. How fun is it, when you see the scores, when you see the amount of participants? What does that show you for the growth of surf over the last 25, 30 years?
Yeah, it's cool. A couple years ago, it was, for some reason, it felt really challenging. But the last couple years, we switched to the live heats, the computerized scoring system, and so the parents can watch it live. They can see the scores come in. They can see where the team score is for each contest, and I think that really has elevated the whole thing. And yeah, there's nothing better than being on the beach for a surf contest, and it's a team event like that where people are going crazy when someone does well, and they're politely kind of heckling when somebody doesn't do well. It's pretty funny when someone falls and the whole beach groans, or they're even, someone lets out a little cheer because someone doesn't complete a turn or a wave or something. But obviously, when there's just the beach erupts with cheers because somebody gets a good one, and it helps the whole team. It's cool. It happens a little bit on the individual side, but not like it does on the team side. So the whole team aspect of surfing is really cool. And again, ties full circle back into us going to Australia by taking a small team that did well enough in our West Coast region to the US region to ultimately being one of 6 teams to represent us in Australia is really cool.
Recently, lacrosse was made a CIF sport. Is there any chance that surf makes that next step from a club sport to a CIF sport, or are we sticking with the club theme for now?
That's a great question. When I did take over in 2013, I thought that wanted to be one of the things I saw happen before I moved on from this. But I've since talked to people that were involved in trying to get boys beach volleyball CIF approved, which I don't believe has still happened. And I think they've spent a lot of time and money on it. And I know it really is a challenge. So would love to see it happen. And I'm all about helping to make that happen if it's possible. But I know it is hard, and so we're nowhere near that yet. We haven't even had any real conversations on it. So
one of the things I want to touch on was that weekend, the South Bay Boardriders Club Awards, the Spyder Surf Fest, the contest April 24th to 26th. That weekend started with a mixer, and then you've got an award show. But how fun is that weekend from start to finish, where you've got, we're talking about the inductees, we're talking about the youth that are competing not only in contests, but for scholarships as well. And then you've got more contests at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, that's about as good as weekend as we have here for surf in the South Bay. I think that Friday night event, again, the board has turned that into such a cool thing where we're giving away the 7, 8, 9 awards for Ride of the Year, Wipeout of the Year, Biggest Wave of the Year, Grom Charger, Female Charger. And then Chris Miller shows her movie at the beginning that honors all the past inductees. We do give away a ton of scholarships. We honor the high school kids and the high school teams. And that night is so cool. And then Saturday morning, we induct 3, 4, or 5 people, whoever it is, into the Surfers Walk of Fame so that their bronze plaque goes on the pier. Is always super special. Hearing those speeches from family members or friends that are helping induct those people. And those are surf legends often, doing both the induction speeches and, the people that are getting inducted are just, it's fascinating. The stories are amazing and funny. And then we roll into Spyder Surf Fest, which is, 50 of the best surf brands in the industry, and they're posted up on Pier Plaza, and it's all free, and they're playing funny little games and giving away hats and T-shirts and stickers. And, most every kid rolls out of here with a bag full of great little goodies. And it's a huge give back. We partner up with all our best partners here that we've been doing business with for so long, and ask them to bring a little game and some giveaways so that they can kind of give back and say thank you to everybody that's been so supportive of the surf community over the years. And then Sunday we roll into the South Bay Boardriders contest, and south side of Hermosa Pier is always just a great place to have a contest. It's kind of the only one full day contest like that on the south side of Hermosa Pier these days. So always a great way to wrap up the weekend too. So yeah, we love that weekend. It's a lot. There's a lot going on, but it's great.
If you say there was a young man who came in, hey, I want to learn how to surf. I'm from the Midwest. How would you approach that conversation when it's a completely different environment?
Meaning different environment than
just, coming from the Midwest and surfing down in the South Bay.
Yeah. You just got to get out there, and it's changed a lot since when I was learning, because we've got the foam boards now, and we've got all these 7-foot 7'6", 8 foot, all the mid-length stuff that's made it so much easier. When I learned, we were learning on hand-me-down knee boards or, whatever somebody in the neighborhood was throwing away. So it's gotten a lot easier. You got surf coaches all over the place. You've got surf schools, and I think they're teaching it even more and more in the junior lifeguard programs these days. So you just got to get out there. There's a million ways to do it. It hasn't ever been easier, I don't think. And what goes with that is it's more fun. It's way more enjoyable. It's not as hard as it was, but 5 million avenues. And in the summertime when the water's warm.
We're doing rapid fire with Richard O'Reilly. Always top surfers of all time.
Oh, man, I gotta go Greg Browning, of course, because what an amazing human he was, on top of what an incredible surfer he was and a good friend of mine. And then the guys that really made an impact on me here locally in the South Bay would be, Chris Frohoff, in awe of what he did there at Pipeline when I was just old enough to kind of really start to get how heavy that was. And Ted Robinson, Scott Daly, I'm getting one of those guys. Ted, Scott, Chris, I'm forgetting one of them, but those are the South Bay guys that really stand out to me for sure.
You get a chance to sit down with anybody in history, who would it be?
Gosh, I think this era and recent, I'd probably go Barack Obama. I think he's, what he managed to accomplish coming from his background and doing what he did, I think was pretty amazing, regardless of where you stand politically. I think you got to respect the guy. So super interesting human.
Top 2 surf movies.
First one that jumps out to me is Performers, again, from kind of that 90s era when I think I was really impressionable and just blown away by what was going on over there in Hawaii. And then all the Taylor Steele stuff, the Momentum stuff was right there for me. I probably would have to throw in a third with all the Australian Jack McCoy stuff. It was so amazing too. So.
I kind of go back and forth with this one, but we're going to go favorite South Bay musical artist.
God, that's tough to narrow down, but I grew up with the Pennywise guys. I was watching those guys practice when Fletcher was living in a warehouse over there off Catalina. And so same thing, just seeing what they've accomplished and what they continue to do, and seeing Jim up on stage and having 40,000 people sing the song back to him just blows me away. It's so amazing. And then the Descendants, of course, those are my 2 South Bay guys.
Here we go. This one, there is a ton of food in the South Bay area, but I want to know, you've got somebody coming out from your hometown in the Midwest. Where are you going to take them and what are you going to order?
Probably going to go Mexican because they're not getting that back there. And
not traditional, at least.
No, not the good stuff. It's either El Sombrero, number 2 up there on Artesia, because I grew up eating there so much. I'd have to bring them down here to La Playita, downtown Hermosa, and pretty standard chicken enchilada.
Excuse us.
It's all good. Combo plate, right? Chicken taco, chicken enchilada.
There we go.
Yeah.
Mr. Richard O'Reilly, also known as Dickie. Appreciate you, sir, very much.
So much. Love what you're doing.